The year my boyfriend Clark was at his poorest, I sold my body to give him another chance to rebuild his business. With tears in his eyes, he swore he would marry me in this lifetime. I waited for Clark for 6 years. But in the end, I only got to see him attending his engagement party with someone else. Inside a private booth at a bar, I overheard him say, "Belen is just a deaf girl who's been used by other men. Who would want to marry her?" When he looked up and saw me standing at the door, he didn't even bother pretending. He cornered me against the wall, his tone dripping with mockery. "Belen, if you really want to be with me, it's not impossible. Just show up at tomorrow's banquet and drink with my friends, maybe then I'll consider making you my mistress." The next night, I arrived at the banquet in a dazzling gown. Clark and his friends surrounded me, laughing like they were enjoying a joke. "Belen, you really are an obedient little lapdog. We told you to come, and you actually did. Where's your dignity? No wonder he doesn't want you." They pried my lips open, trying to force alcohol down my throat. Some even grabbed at my dress, attempting to pull me into a private booth to humiliate me further. But in the next second, a firm, strong hand yanked me into an embrace. "You dare lay a hand on my fiancée? Do you have a death wish?" The moment they saw who spoke, their faces turned pale with fear. This audio is originally produced by the YouTube channel, Love Short Story. Please credit when sharing. Look at that. The lapdog really showed up. At the banquet, someone pointed at me, their voice laced with ridicule. He nudged Clark with his elbow. "You lucky bastard, not only did you land a stunning beauty like Diana, but even Belen, that innocent little deaf girl, was willing to waste 6 years chasing after you." Others chimed in. Yeah, everyone knows how hopelessly in love Belen was with Clark. If she hadn't used her body to trade for an investment, how could Clark have ever made a comeback? She's still hanging around, hoping to be his mistress, even without a proper title. Clark sat in the middle of the group, his gaze sweeping over my dress. His eyes narrowed as he took a slow, appraising look at me. His Adam's apple bobbed slightly. Didn't expect her body to be this good. If I had known back then, I would have slept with her first. Too bad, I find her disgusting now. His friends burst into raucous laughter. "If you don't want her, Clark, why not let us have a turn? We don't mind." "Yeah, Clark, didn't we agree we'd teach her a lesson tonight?" They exchanged knowing glances before erupting into more obscene laughter. I was still looking around for someone when suddenly, someone blocked my way. Clark tilted his chin up. "Belen, you really are pathetic. We told you to come drink with us, and you actually showed up, dressed like this, no less." His gaze brazenly lingered on my exposed shoulders. I instantly turned cold. "Move. I'm not here for you." "Oh? Still acting tough?" Someone reached out and yanked my hearing aid from my right ear. The laughter around me instantly became muffled. Clark smirked, pinching my chin between his fingers. "Still talking big? If you weren't here for me, then tell me, how could a broke girl like you even get into a place like this?" His breath was hot against my left ear, his voice dripping with mockery. I bit my lip hard, but my eyes still burned red with humiliation. I had waited for him for 6 years. 6 years ago, his company was on the verge of bankruptcy. Loan sharks were at his doorstep, threatening his parents' lives. Clark had nowhere to turn, he was about to swallow a bottle of sleeping pills. It was me who saved him. I used my body to secure an investment for him. When he received the funds, Clark had knelt before me, eyes brimming with tears, and made a promise. "Belen, wait for me. When I rebuild my company, I will marry you. I'll give you the grandest wedding, one that'll make you the envy of the world." Back then, he was poor, but he would skip meals just to save money and buy me the best hearing aids. He had held me in his arms and said, "Belen, when I have money, I'll pay for your surgery so you can hear again." I had believed him. And so, I waited. Year after year. Clark became busier and busier. We spent less and less time together. Then one day, he told me he had to go abroad for 2 years for a business deal. When he came back, his company had gone public. Clark had transformed into a wealthy CEO. I went to find him, asking when he would fulfill his promise. But instead, I accidentally walked in on his engagement party with someone else. When I confronted him, he didn't even bother hiding the truth. "Diana and I are a perfect match. She can help me. You? You have nothing to offer. With one arm around his fiancée, he raised his glass in a toast. Every word of his promise, completely forgotten. Now, as he tightened his grip on my wrist, his lips curled into a mocking smile. I thought you were staying pure for me. But after all these years, you've only gotten sluttier, dressing like this just to seduce my friends? Tears blurred my vision. I shoved Clark away. I have nothing to do with you. Get out of my way. I lunged to grab my hearing aid back. But they tossed it around like a toy, sneering as they called me a deaf girl. Clark, you spend thousands buying luxury bags for Diana, but you won't spare a dime to fix her ears? Clark chuckled, lighting a cigarette. You don't get it. He took a slow drag. She can't hear, that makes it even more exciting. I froze in disbelief. Laughter erupted around me as they all caught on to his meaning. The excitement he was talking about. The last time Clark had come back from abroad, the first thing he did was find me. He coaxed me to sleep, then started kissing me all over. His breathing grew heavy, but he stopped himself from going any further. Thinking I was asleep, he got up, smoked a cigarette, and called Diana over. Clark, you bastard. You have another woman lying next to you, and you still called me over? What do you take me for? Clark pulled Diana into his arms with a smirk. Come on, you know you're the only one I actually sleep with. Diana melted into his embrace, their lips locking. I lay there, pretending to be asleep, as I listened to the sound of clothes hitting the floor. Listened to the gasps and moans intertwining. Tears slipped silently down my cheeks. Then, in the middle of their passion, Diana had asked. Why won't you touch her? She's dirty. Clark's voice had been calm, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. He lusted after my body, yet despised my past. He had wanted me there, asleep, as a witness to his love for Diana. Because to him, that was the ultimate thrill. Now, my face burned red with anger. I lunged at him, tears in my eyes. Give it back. The men surrounding me were vile. They had nothing better to do than mock a girl, snatching away her hearing aid just for fun. Just as I was about to snatch it back, one of them lifted his hand. Catch. Grinning, he tossed it to another man. I chased after it, humiliated beyond words. Then, suddenly, a short, stocky man grabbed my chest. What the hell are you doing? I slapped him across the face, fury burning in my veins. His expression twisted with rage. You bitch. How dare you hit me? His eyes turned cruel as he slapped me. Once. Then again. You think you're some saint? Everyone knows you sold yourself 6 years ago. What's the big deal if I touch you? A woman like you should be grateful I even bothered. Pain stung my swollen cheek, and hot tears welled up. I stumbled to the ground, and the man lunged at me again. Stop. Clark approached with a cold expression. What's going on? This woman actually dared to hit me. So what if I touched her? She had it coming. Clark shot him a sharp look. The man immediately shut his mouth. Without a hint of emotion, Clark walked toward me and reached out his hand. I thought he was finally going to let me go. Even his friends were watching nervously. But in the next second, he suddenly reached out and poked my swollen cheek, then burst into laughter. Look at her, doesn't she look just like a pig's head now? Seeing this, his group of friends immediately erupted into laughter. Clark wasn't here to help me. Instead, their bullying only intensified. Belen, stop pretending to be some innocent, pure girl. You came to this party dressed like that, weren't you just trying to seduce a few of us? Since you're here, letting us touch you is just you playing along. I struggled with all my strength, trying to resist, but they only pinned me down harder. Derek, don't you go to nightclubs all the time? Come on, be the first to test her out. A man turned to Derek with a wicked grin. He stepped forward and ran his hands over me. Then, he pulled out a stack of cash and slapped it against my face. Consider this your tip for tonight. Belen, as long as you keep us happy tonight, you won't be short on money. Their disgusting smiles clung to me like venomous slime. Laughing coldly, they dragged me toward a private room. Get lost. Let me go. I'm not that kind of person. Clark, tell them to stop, or you'll regret this. Clark sneered. He pulled off the leather belt around his waist and walked toward me with a teasing glint in his eyes. Not that kind of person? He lightly tapped my face with the cold leather belt. Do you really think you're so noble? Belen, 6 years ago, weren't you the one who slept with some random guy for money? Exactly. And now you think you're some high-class lady? Everyone in our circle knows what you did. Belen, you're nothing but a gold-digging mattress for anyone with money. They hurled the ugliest insults at me. Meanwhile, Clark was lowering his head, tying the belt around my wrists. I stared at him in despair. Is that what you think too? If it weren't for me back then, you would have overdosed on sleeping pills and died. Would you even be standing here right now? I had traded my body to secure the massive investment that saved him. Back then, he had knelt in front of me, overwhelmed with gratitude, swearing that he would marry me no matter what. But 6 years later, this was how he repaid me. Clark avoided my gaze and turned his head away. Huh. Who knows? Maybe you did it on purpose, seducing some other man and making me take the blame. He smirked coldly and looked back at me. You think you helped me? Belen, don't flatter yourself. Even without you, I would have made it through and succeeded all the same. I let out a hollow laugh. This time I was truly done. So, this is who you really are, a heartless traitor. I glared at him with pure hatred. I should have watched you die back then. Even if I had to save a beggar, I would never have saved you. Clark grew impatient. Are you all deaf? We came here to drink, why is she still running her mouth? His friends immediately got excited. Yeah, enough talking. Get her drunk. Let's see what Belen is like when she's wasted. Someone opened a bottle of liquor, pried my mouth open, and forced it down my throat. I instinctively recoiled in fear. No. Let me go. Clark watched me coldly the entire time. I thrashed wildly, desperately trying to grab onto something, anything. My fingers brushed against the fabric of Clark's sleeve. Clark, we're already over. I won't bother you again, just tell them to stop. You know I'm allergic to alcohol. But in the next second, Clark pressed down on my head with a sneer. It's just a drink. You won't die, stop being so dramatic. With him holding me down, the others pried my mouth open and forced the liquor down my throat. A burning pain seared through me. I choked, nearly drowning in the alcohol. I remembered how Clark used to be. Back then, he knew about my allergy. Even if he drank himself into stomach ulcers, he never let me touch a single drop. But now, he stood there, watching them force me to drink, completely indifferent. I coughed violently, my throat filled with the metallic taste of blood. Liquor dripped from my hair. I glared at them, refusing to back down. I'm Winston's fiancée. If any of you lay another finger on me, you'll regret it. I'm allergic to alcohol, take me to the hospital. They froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. Wow, not only is Belen a slut, but she's a pathological liar too. Now she's even dragging Winston into this. Do you even know who Winston is? He and his family own 2/3 of this city. And you, some broke nobody, dared to have such delusions? None of them believed me. I wanted to say more, but my entire body started to feel strange. A rash broke out on my arms. My head was spinning. As they laughed, the door to the private room suddenly swung open. A woman in a red gown stepped in, high heels clicking against the floor. Looks like you're all having fun. Clark, what's going on here? Clark smiled and wrapped an arm around her. Diana, you're here. This is Belen. My friends are just having a drink with her. Diana. She glanced at me in surprise, then smiled gently. So you're Miss Belen. I've heard all about you and Clark. I really admire your devotion, but that's all in the past. Clark and I are engaged now, you should let him go. I curled my lips into a cold smirk. She thought I was still clinging to Clark. As if I'd ever want trash like him again. Ignoring the burning sensation all over my body, I gritted my teeth and said. They dragged me in here against my will. I came to this party to find my fiancé, his name is Winston. Let me go. If he doesn't find me soon, you'll all regret it. The moment I finished speaking, the room exploded with laughter. Come on, drop the act. Who knew this little deaf girl was such a liar? You're just a low-level employee, who are you trying to impress? Someone even kicked me amid the mocking laughter. Diana pushed through the crowd, frowning as she took my hearing aid from their hands and handed it back to me. Clark and his friends are always like this, careless and playful, but they don't mean any harm. Don't take it to heart. She turned to me with a gentle smile, but her words cut sharper than a blade. Miss Belen, I know you're deaf in your right ear. Since you were born with a defect, if you're short on money, my family happens to need a housekeeper. That way, you wouldn't have to sell yourself to please men just to make a living. I stared at her in shock, unable to believe what I had just heard. Diana turned away and gently scolded the group of so-called friends. You guys are really too much. Belen's a girl, and maybe she's a little vain, but that's no reason to treat her like this. She probably made up that story about Winston because she's never actually seen him before. Just take pity on her and let it go, okay? She reached out to help me up, but I coldly pushed her away. I barely used any strength, yet Diana fell back hard onto the floor. Miss Belen, I was just trying to be kind. Why did you push me? Clark immediately panicked and rushed to help Diana up. Are you okay? Then, his expression darkened as he turned to me. He grabbed my head and forcefully pushed it toward the table. Belen, don't be ungrateful. Diana was so kind, even offering you a job as a housekeeper, and you dared to push her? Looks like we've been way too easy on you. Keep pouring. At Clark's command, the others took it as a signal to let loose. My face went pale as I desperately tried to dodge them, but there was no escape from this nightmare. I'm not lying. My fiancé really is Winston, ah. A disgusting, greasy laugh echoed beside my ear. With your background, do you really think you could land someone like Winston? People like him marry within their own class, maybe take a good look in the mirror first? Stop pretending. Even if you scream your lungs out tonight, you're not leaving. If you behave and entertain us, who knows? Maybe one of us will take you as a girlfriend, or a mistress. Despair tightened around my throat like a noose. My body grew weaker as the allergic reaction from the alcohol worsened. Someone scoffed impatiently. Why are you guys still talking? She just doesn't know her place. If she's so vain and loves to lie, let's strip that fancy dress off her and see if she still acts so high and mighty. Great idea. Hands grabbed my arms. Hands pinned down my legs. Greasy fingers slid up and down my thighs. In the dim light, I saw a hand reaching under my dress. Diana sat in Clark's lap, kissing him as if nothing was happening. Tears streamed down my face as I stared at the door, praying for a miracle. And then, just as I sank into despair, the door was kicked open with a deafening bang. A group of bodyguards stormed in, their faces expressionless as they parted to clear a path. A man in a tailored suit stepped forward, an icy aura radiating from him. His voice was low and frigid. What the hell are you doing? It was Winston. In the very next second, he kicked aside the man holding me down and yanked me into his arms. The familiar, cool scent of him wrapped around me. Dazed, I opened my eyes and looked up at the furious man before me. You must have a death wish, he growled. You dared lay a hand on my fiancé? Someone in the room recognized him immediately. Their face turned ghostly pale. W. Winston. Mr. Winston? This is our private room. What are you doing here? A.N., what fiancé? Clark, realizing who had just walked in, shoved Diana aside and rushed forward with a sycophantic smile. This was his biggest client. Winston's support had been the key to his company's success over the years. He had to salvage this. Mr. Winston, what an honor. If I had known you were coming, I would have welcomed you properly. Winston held me protectively, his gaze cold and filled with restrained fury. But one look at me. My hair soaked in alcohol, my gown stained and wrinkled, red rashes breaking out on my exposed skin. And the last of his restraint snapped. His veins bulged with barely contained rage. Who did this? Who was involved? Clark's face drained of color as realization dawned. He had made a colossal mistake. With a thud, he dropped to his knees. Mr. Winston, Belen, she's really your fiancée? Winston's expression was grim. What do you think? Why else do you think I invited all of you to this event tonight? I was planning to announce that Belen is my fiancée. I spent all night looking for her, only to find out that you had hidden her away here. You dared lay a hand on her. Do you really think I'll let you walk away from this?" Clark was shaking now. Panicked, he stammered, I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. Belen, she always waited for me to marry her. I thought she came tonight too." He stopped mid-sentence, realizing how deep a hole he had dug for himself. Winston was livid. Their business relationship, everything, was crumbling before Clark's eyes. Desperate, he slammed his forehead to the ground. "Mr. Winston, it was my mistake. I'll have them all kneel and apologize. Please, about our partnership. It's over." Winston gently touched my face, his voice soft with concern. "Belen, can you hold on?" I winced in discomfort. His jaw tightened. Then he turned and roared at his bodyguards, "Call the private doctor. Now." When he looked back at the room, his gaze was like ice. "No one here is walking away unscathed. Take them all." "Yes, sir." The bodyguards moved as one, seizing everyone involved. Winston wiped the alcohol and grime from my face, then quickly draped his jacket over my shoulders to cover me. "I'm sorry, Belen. I should have sent someone to pick you up sooner." His voice trembled, and to my shock, his eyes turned red. I wanted to shake my head, to tell him I was fine. But before I could, my vision went black, and I lost consciousness. I slept for hours before finally waking up. The best private doctor had treated me, and the allergic reaction from the alcohol was starting to subside. I looked around, realizing I was in an unfamiliar villa. Winston's home. Blinking, I noticed a figure sitting at my bedside, dozing lightly. He had stayed with me the whole time. "Belen, you're awake." The moment Winston saw me stir, he pulled me into a tight embrace. His hand gently stroked my hair, but his eyes turned red again. "You scared me to death. The doctor said you're severely allergic to alcohol. And yet those bastards still forced you to drink. It's my fault. I knew you weren't familiar with these events, but I still left you alone to deal with other things. I should have stayed by your side the whole time." I was silent for a long time. I stared at the torn orange evening gown that had just been ripped apart. Feeling a little sad, I murmured, "I'm sorry. The dress was ruined by them." That dress was a gift from Winston. He had brought me to the banquet tonight to officially announce to everyone that I was his fiancée. But then, Clark and his gang showed up. Without giving me a chance to resist, they dragged me into a private room. Winston had been waiting for me outside the door the whole time. He waited and waited, but I never appeared. In the end, it was a waiter who told him that a young woman in an orange gown had been taken into this very room. That's when he rushed over with his bodyguards. And as it turned out, it really was me. Winston pulled me into his arms, his expression full of distress. He shook his head apologetically. "It's okay. If the dress is ruined, I'll just get you another one. I'll have a designer custom make one just for you, alright?" I looked at Winston, dazed, unable to understand why he treated me so well. When I was heartbroken and abandoned, he was the one who placed a proposal ring on my finger without hesitation. "Belen, marry me." Winston was the man I had once slept with 6 years ago in exchange for an investment opportunity for Clark. Back then, I had only used him. The one I truly loved was Clark. But Clark trampled my love into the dirt like it was nothing. And the man I had used? He treated me like a treasure, protecting me with everything he had. "Winston. Thank you." He shook his head and gently wiped away my tears. "Don't cry, Belen. I've already scheduled your surgery with a specialist overseas. Once your allergy clears up, you'll be able to undergo the procedure to restore your hearing. Very soon, you won't need to wear hearing aids anymore." I nodded. Even though I was safe now, the events at the banquet still left me shaken. What about Clark and the others? I had my bodyguards lock them in the basement. I wanted to wait until you woke up so you could decide what to do with them. Belen, I promised you, I would never let you suffer any injustice. However you want to take revenge, I'll make it happen. Winston led me to the basement. Clark and his friends were tied up and bound to the pillars. They looked pathetic, like stray dogs. As soon as the door opened, they began desperately begging for mercy. Mr. Winston, we know we were wrong. Please, let us go. Winston didn't respond. He simply held my hand and walked forward step by step. The first one was the short, fat man. He looked at me with fear in his eyes. Belen, what are you going to do? I warn you, don't do anything crazy. There was still a hint of threat in his voice. I chuckled coldly. He groped me and slapped me twice. I'm afraid he'll do the same to other women in the future. Can we make sure he never uses his hands again? Winston nodded without hesitation. Of course. Then, he turned to his bodyguards. Do exactly as Miss Belen says. A bodyguard stepped forward with a knife, his expression cold and indifferent. A scream of agony immediately filled the room. Ah. UB*TCH, Belen. You'll die a miserable death. Before he could finish, the bodyguard kicked him hard in the stomach. Winston's voice was icy. Say one more word, and you won't have a tongue left. Next was Derek. After witnessing what had just happened, his face had already turned deathly pale. He frantically pleaded with me. Belen, please, no. I was just following them. I didn't actually do anything to you, it was all them. Please, let me go. But I remembered. He was the one who snatched away my hearing aids. He was the one who tore at my dress and tried to shove his hand under my skirt. I shook my head and looked at Winston. Can we make sure he'll never be a man again? Winston smiled. As long as he stays alive, that's fine. Do it. And just like that, he was no longer a man. One by one, they all paid their price. Finally, it was Clark's turn. He was so terrified that he had wet himself. His face was ashen as he desperately turned to Winston, trying to plead his case. Mr. Winston, don't let this woman manipulate you. Her family is dirt poor, she has a sick father and a gambling-addicted mother. She's scheming and only knows how to seduce men. There must be some mistake. How could she possibly be your fiancée? She must be lying to you. I couldn't help but shake my head. Even now, he was still trying to twist the truth. Winston sneered. Clark, do you really think you became the CEO of your company on your own? Clark froze. The blood drained from his face. What do you mean? Winston's voice was filled with disdain. If Belen hadn't begged me, do you think you would have ever received that investment 6 years ago? Your company was a mess. If it weren't for her, I would never have wasted my money on you. I thought you would take responsibility for her, that you would keep your promise to marry her. But in the end, you turned out to be nothing but a heartless ingrate. Winston's gaze swept over Diana, who was already sobbing in fear. He snorted. You've already gotten engaged to another woman and abandoned Belen. Then I'll be the one to cherish her. Clark looked at me in shock, regret flashing in his eyes. How could this happen? Mr. Winston, Belen is my girlfriend. Yes, I got engaged to Diana, but I never actually planned to abandon her. I just thought, she loved me so much, she should be able to endure this test. She would do anything for me. She even slept with another man for my sake. But now, just because I got engaged to Diana, why would she lose faith in me? She should understand me. I don't love Diana at all, I'm only using her. Otherwise, why wouldn't I agree to break up with Belen? Diana, who had been listening this whole time, finally saw Clark's true colors. Her face turned ghostly pale. Clark, you're a monster. You're not even human. You told me you loved me. That you wanted to marry me. So it was all a lie? But it was too late. She finally realized. The man she had agreed to marry wasn't a person, but a demon. I laughed coldly. When Clark knelt at my feet, begging me to take him back, I kicked him, just like he once kicked me. As hard as I could. Your so-called love isn't even worth a blade of grass. Clark, I must have been blind to ever fall for you. But I'm not blind anymore. All the things I did for you, all the things you took from me, I'm taking them back. Clark's face was full of despair. He screamed at the top of his lungs. No. Belen, you can't do this to me. You love me, don't you? You would do anything for me. He kept shouting. But no one was listening anymore. Winston immediately withdrew all his investments and canceled every business deal. Clark's company went bankrupt overnight. He lost everything and became the same pathetic man he was 6 years ago. Desperate, he tried to beg Diana for help. But she had already seen him for what he was. Not only did she kick him to the curb, but she also sent her security team to beat him senseless. She even tricked him out of the last of his money. And just like that, Clark was back to where he started. It felt like everything had reset to the beginning. You're listening to Love Short Story, a YouTube channel dedicated to captivating short stories. Let's continue. 3 days later, the surgeon Winston arranged performed the operation to restore my hearing. When I came out of the operating room, the first thing I saw was Winston pacing back and forth anxiously. The moment he saw me, he ran over excitedly and pulled me into his arms. "Belen, can you hear me now?" He leaned close to my right ear and whispered sweet words I had never been able to hear before. But now, sound finally reached that once silent ear. I smiled and nodded. "Yes, I heard you. You said, 'I love you.'" Winston held me tightly, as if I were the most precious thing in the world. "This is amazing. You're finally healed, Belen. From now on, I'll love you, protect you, and never let anyone hurt you again." Maybe I should thank Clark, too. If I hadn't taken that risk for him back then, I never would have met Winston. And I never would have known that from the very first night we met, Winston had already set his eyes on me. While I spent 6 years waiting for Clark, Winston had been waiting for me. Thankfully, we finally found our way to each other. On our wedding day, Winston invited some of the most influential people in the city to celebrate with us. Everyone gave us their heartfelt blessings. But what I didn't expect was for Clark to show up uninvited, looking ragged and desperate. His eyes were red as he rushed toward me. "Belen, don't marry him. I was wrong. Please, give me another chance. Let's start over, okay? I don't care that you're deaf. As long as we're together, everything will be fine." Hearing those words now, I could only find them laughable. "Clark, the only one who's lost everything here is you. And," I pointed to my right ear, "I can hear perfectly now. I'm not deaf, so show some respect." Clark was thrown out that very day. I later heard that he tried multiple times to start a new business, but no one was willing to help him. Then, one day, he got caught stealing money from a homeless man, who beat him so badly with a stick that he ended up with a broken leg. After that, I never heard about him again. 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant. Clark had always thought I was dirty and refused to touch me. Looking back now, maybe that was a blessing in disguise. Once I got pregnant, Winston cherished me even more, treating me like the most precious thing in the world. No one called me little deaf girl anymore. No one dared to bully me ever again. Everything from the past felt like a distant dream. And I had finally stepped into my new life. The end. This story is exclusively produced by the YouTube channel, Love Short Story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe.